Why do design consultants don't attend design construction coordination meetings?
I don't know, at this point in my career, I'm not trying to bring problems to the project.
You should definitely try to understand what the other side is trying to achieve.
Welcome to the BIM Student Podcast. In this podcast, we talk to leaders, followers, innovators, and adopters from our AEC industry. Like a student, I ask questions that we all wanted to ask on our digital transformation journey, but never actually did. I explore concept, products, ideas, and future possibilities in digital transformation space. Each week, I meet with an amazing guest from the industry. I look forward to learn something new, share new experiences, thoughts, and opinions, and how to make BIM journey better for everybody across the board.
Today's episode is a continuation of last episode, where I was talking to Yeetster and Sean Lemrock. In last episode, we listened to the pet peeves from either side. Today's episode is all about rebuttal. Let's see who wins the BIM face-off and the impossible questionnaire round. Heath, do you want to answer Sean's pet peeves that, first of all, why do design consultants don't attend design construction coordination meetings?
I think sometimes I actually agree with him on this one, like that. Yes, you should attend those meetings, and you should definitely try to understand what the other side is trying to achieve, right? And I think it will make you a better architect, engineer, and so on. Like it will really, I think, benefit people to understand how construction works. I think a lot of people are a bit hesitant to kind of get out of their bubble and kind of maybe expand their thinking a bit, right? I'm pretty lucky in the sense that I work with various different disciplines, actually, both on the engineering and architecture side. And my wife is also a VDC manager, so I get to hear a lot from her. And I think understanding their objective allows me to actually solve the problems and interact with them in a more meaningful way as well. For instance, if there's a coordination issue, and let's say there's a mechanical system clashing with some of my elements, I can actually assess whether we should move things to, I can assess who should take action to resolve this in the most efficient manner, for instance, right? So being able to look at things from both sides is, I think, a powerful thing, and people should definitely be interacting more with the trades and disciplines that are outside their field.
Okay. And now I want Sean to answer, why do GCs ask for things that are not relevant from consultants?
Why do GCs ask for things that are not relevant? I guess the question would have to, I don't know what my experience would be asking. I'm trying to think back, what have I asked for that would be irrelevant from a consultant? I think I'm kind of stumped on that. I don't quite know how to answer that one. to be honest.
Yes.
So just to expand a bit, things like, I don't know, LOD 350s from us, right? Or like high level LODs, or model information that's really not going to be used, things like that. Yeah, those would be some examples.
Okay, that's very clear. Thanks. I don't know, at this point in my career, I'm not trying to bring problems to the project. I think our jobs are actually, we're supposed to bring solutions. So I'll give a good example. We're setting up another project in the design phase. It's not actually at 33% yet, and I'm interacting with the other VDC manager on the design side. We're setting up the BIM execution plan together. Now, of course, we get to the LOD part. So I show an example of how where I'm at with using LOD on a project, and I show him exactly on one page how I do that. And I have one note at the bottom. I won't go into what it says or what it does, but ultimately I said, do you agree with this? Because I don't want to be filling in Excel sheets though I can understand the Excel spreadsheets from the design side that come with the territory, but like, do you agree with like the idea of what we're trying to do with LOD for this project? Here is my proposal to you. And he goes, yeah, like, let's run through it. So we take 2 minutes, we go through it, and we both agree on LOD. So maybe I don't have a rebuttal on, me asking for crazy LOD from a consultant, but I think ultimately it's on me to understand the outcomes and deliverables for construction, approach someone like Yeet with a proposal that will work for me, knowing that it'll also work for him. I'm not shooting for the moon, and I'm not shooting for something that I'm never going to get, which is what he was getting at. I don't want to do that anymore. Why do we need to do that? That's kind of the thing that I'm kind of saying in my rebuttal. So I don't know that you're going to get us, Chadna, maybe to go like this when we're maybe trying to like reduce the problems together. I don't know how you feel about that.
No. What I just want is that I know there are some really amazing consultants and amazing contractors that work together, and there have been minimal problems, but there have also been, like, these questions are coming out of my interaction with both sides of affairs. And and I think through this platform, through this medium, what I'm trying to put it out is that nobody wants to do a bad job. And these are some reasons behind when we are ranting that we didn't get so-and-so support from the other side. Maybe let's look at their point of view before just putting out. And with that, I think my next question is, because we have to, whether it's a contractor, whether it's a consultant, and now even more so, BIM consultants are being brought on the project so that they can just, on the project level, they are becoming more important. We're all working towards the success of the project. And through that journey, we're all learning things from each other. So I don't want this to be like a fight, even if it's behind the scene rant, which sure has to be. Like, I feel like I divorce my husband like 5 times a day. So it's like, we have to work as a team together, and there will be rants. There will be, not so happy discussions, but there are also things that we learn from each other. What do you guys think that or maybe in general, or maybe through a real life example, your biggest learning while working with each other, something that a consultant has learned or should learn, and something that a GC has learned or should learn from the consultant? So let's start with Yeet this time.
So I already kind of touched upon this, like really understanding the other person's trade a bit really helps. I think just trying to understand the primary objectives, what they're trying to achieve, why are they doing things they do, just questioning those are I think, really important. But when it comes down to, collaborating, there are some obstacles, like contractual obstacles, basically, right? Because at the end of the day, you actually mentioned that everybody's working towards the success of the project.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the problem. If the success of the project means my financial ruin, right, probably I'm going to look after my company's interest, right? And especially like the low trust environments like design bid build can really hinder collaboration a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And minimize the actual collaboration and communication between parties. And that's kind of the sad truth of it. But I think the contract really matters in that sense, like what kind of contract you have. And from each other, like especially on the design side, this is kind of really unrelated to BIM in general. It is in a way, because I think if you want to be good with BIM software, you really need to understand how things are constructed, right? You need to be able to visualize them. An architect or interior designer in general should be able to get a pretty good sense of like what their project's going to look like when it's constructed, sure. But how that construction process works, like understanding the construction process, I think is really important from the consultant side, because then you can, like, if you understand how a stud wall is constructed, then you can build the details for it. Then you can dimension it in a way that's going to be useful for the contractor, maybe, right? You just like anything code relevant, maybe you do finish to finish. Anything where like they need to place the stud, like, okay, I'm going to measure this from center, things like that. So understanding the process and the sequence of the building, like how your design actually comes to life, I think understanding that is the most important thing from the designer side. And I definitely encourage anyone early in their careers to get a bit uncomfortable and just, ask questions and try to learn more of that.
But is there one specific thing that you say that you would want to learn from the contractors? I would give my take on this. I feel contractors now have become more receptive to change in technology than the consultants. It could be because they have more money to do that. It could be that. But I feel that they are becoming more agile in the process of adopting technology. That's my personal experience. Whereas consultants, technology adoption and then changing to a newer one that's my personal experience or my point of view. And you can differ, but I've seen contractors being more agile in their process to adopt technology. Yeah, it's my thing.
Well, okay, at this point, I gotta say, I guess the large contractors are really, really large, right? They manage like hundreds of projects sometimes at any given time, basically in Canada. So I think our general, I'm going to sidetrack, but the progression and adoption of technology in Canada in general, or North America maybe, has been that the larger companies have mostly adopted BIM and the relevant technologies, like getting more into design technology, while the smaller companies have stagnated, right? And I do think it's similar with the contractors. I've definitely worked with smaller contractors that had absolutely no idea, like, it's happened. And on that point, I think it's a bit similar. We do hear more about the contractors maybe, but because again, they're very large and they do a lot of jobs. And but although this also brings another thing where within that company you have, like, I don't know, maybe a dozen very high tech projects in a year, but you also have like 100 other projects that just still do things from PDF or DWG basically. So I'm not sure if that statement is quite true. Like, is what I mean.
Again, we all speak from our experience.
What I'm saying is, like, you're probably working with larger companies as well, and that might be part of it. Like any company that's becoming more like mid to large size,
right.
That's when, because like your technology expenses can be a smaller portion of your total revenue, basically, right? So if you're running an office with 10 people, okay, so the technology scales very well, let's put it that way. So if you have, 5,000 people in your company, just hiring a few software developers to develop your own tools, for instance, is pretty reasonable.
Right.
If you have 5 people, might not be, such a great idea.
Right. Okay, let's come to Sean. So something that you have or you would want the contractors to learn from the consultants, especially in terms of technology. Okay, so it's both ways because we're working with each other. So designers learning from contractors and contractors learning from designers. So one thing for each.
Yeah, I think, well, now that I sit in the construction side, that I try to continuously learn is what are the skill sets of the other people that are on the other side? I get put on a project, I get put in front of people. I'm constantly trying to understand, what are they bringing to the project? What are they bringing in terms of value that's going to help us push forward? Like, because maybe there's a person on that team that I know that can help the site super more, or I know that there might be a person that has a skill set that can help the PC more. It's not just trying to understand who can help me as Sean. I'm just one person, and it's a team approach. So it's more of a person issue that I'm trying to understand how they can help us. And then I kind of see it the same thing. So I don't know, this looks fun on podcast, but just it goes both ways. That's what I'm saying, right? Because maybe, Yeet's sitting on the other side, and maybe he's curious to not only what Sean can provide, but oh, you have an electrical contractor. I'm like, oh, you really got to talk to this electrical contractor if you get a chance. They're amazing, crazy good in Revit. They're modeling duct banks. They're putting clearance zones in there and modeling per your details. Like, if you want to know how to mitigate maybe some of your design and detailing and cut through a lot of conversation and communication emails, let's set up a conversation with that subtrade and see if that can help resolve and mitigate a lot of time and energy. Right. And maybe we do that through shop drawings easier, or through the latest release of an IFC. I think those big pockets, there's a big gap that we can all figure out how we add and remove those gaps. I think that's kind of a fun thing to figure out on both sides.
Right. Okay. Oh, I have a lot of other questions, but we're running out of time, and I don't want to miss our impossible questionnaire in this. And you've never had a taste of it, Sean, so you would go first. And I don't know, have you listened to previous podcasts? Or Sean, have you listened to previous podcasts? Some of these questions are going to be repeat. Now, I'm going to be somebody who's going to not just ask the question that you can answer, but I'm going to ask the questions that you cannot answer. So let's start with our impossible questionnaire. And I'm going to open my Word file that has all questions that we have. So let's start with Sean. I'll keep it to 2 questions each. I remember I asked Yeet in his last podcast 5 questions, and he was like, oh, wow, I would not think about these questions. So let's start with Sean. Question number 1, which pipe fitting may not be used in a vertical drainage system? A cross fitting, a Y fitting, a double Y fitting, a double waist fitting?
That's a really good question. Can you repeat the options again just one more time? You went through them pretty quick.
Cross fitting, Y fitting, double Y fitting, and double waist fitting.
The last one was double waist?
Double waist fitting.
Okay. I'm not a mechanical expert by any means, so I'm going to go with waist fitting on that one.
Okay, so you're wrong, obviously.
Okay.
It's a cross fitting. So remember, it's a vertical drainage system.
Right. Yeah. No, okay.
So it cannot have a cross. It cannot have a horizontal fitting, like a cross fitting. So next question is, okay. What is a GFCI?
A GFCI.
I'll give you a hint. It's related to electrical stuff.
Yeah, GFCI sounds like a ground control frequency. Is it instrument, like a GFCI?
No.
I maybe obliterated that one.
I would give you 0.25 points for getting the ground correct.
Okay.
But
so what is the correct answer?
The correct answer is ground fault circuit interrupters. So they are basically used for safety protection in the wet areas like kitchens or bathrooms. So we use GFCIs in those places, in exterior locations where due to wet condition, you can have the circuit can be faulty.
Right, that makes sense. It's on the circuits where you press reset. If the panel goes off and the spark hits, you go to the washroom, you hit the reset. That makes sense.
Yes. So the next, it's Yeetster now. So the first question for Yeet is, a fillet weld may be termed as what? So what's the other name of a fillet weld? A convex weld, a miter weld, a concave weld, or none of these?
Should it convex?
Oh, there's no convex. Oh, so yeah, there's convex, concave, and miter weld. So what would be another name for a fillet weld?
Just thinking like fillet is basically round, like the convex or concave. I always confuse these two. I don't know if it's called anything else, but it would be convex, I think, if anything.
Oh, okay. So the correct answer is all of these.
All of those. Okay.
So that was a trick question.
Okay. I guess it's convex from one side, concave from the other. So,
but then there's also a miter weld. That is also a fillet.
No, it wouldn't be. Miter has to be like straight, like rectangular.
But a fillet weld has 3 types.
If it's miter, it's not fillet. How's what? Miter means 90 degree. Like the fillet means it's just turning with a radius.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's Google this after this. So again,
okay, well, we'll take a look. Just put it on the podcast notes.
Yes, and my team has prepared this. So if you're saying what is right, I owe you one. I'm taking you out for a beer then.
Okay, then.
Okay, let's do the next question. The next question is, what grade of concrete is generally not used in reinforced concrete? M20, M10, M40, M15. 10, 15, 20, 40. Which one is generally not used for a reinforced concrete?
I'm gonna assume 10.
Assume or say?
M10.
Yeah, M10.
Yeah, because it's probably like regarding the strength and the kind of particles. So like, there's no point in like using lightweight with something that's supposed to be structural, right?
Right. Right. You're good. Okay, so Yeet wins the hamper. Yeet gets the hamper because he answered one question. Anyways, but this has been a really fun conversation, guys. We are heading towards the end of this podcast. We're really over our time, but I'm just enjoying so much talking to both of you. Rosebud and thorn. So what is your rosebud and thorn working on the side of projects that you are? So if you're working for GC, what's your rosebud and thorn? If you are working on the consultant side, what is your rosebud and thorn? And explaining rosebud and thorn is rose meaning the benefit that you see today, bud that you, and it could be your professional benefit, the benefit you see as your growth in terms of the things that you're learning, and what's the thorn, the biggest challenge that you see when you're working on this side of affairs, this side of the project. So let's go with Yeet.
Okay, the rosebud is, I just generally like my job, so I'm just trying to pick one thing. I'll go with the thorn. The thorn is generally the resistance to change. Okay. And I mean, I don't know if that's very designer specific, probably not. Actually, it might be even better on my side, but yeah, I mean, that's basically the thing you have to constantly deal with. We're still in this, I mean, the adoption has been ramping up, but we're still in this phase where we're, trying to get things up to speed, basically. Mm-hmm. The rosebud, I'd say, is the people I work with in general. I mean, I do enjoy being, I mean, I've been working around architects and engineers for almost 10 years now, and they're a cool crowd.
Yeah, they're cool crowd. Yes, I can say that. Architects are really good. I mean, I have worked around engineers, but I think architects are way cooler. Okay, so Sean, what's your rosebud and thorn? working on the contractor side of affairs?
Yeah. Well, if I start with the rosebud, it's very similar. It's the people. It's the amount of people that have such different skill sets. Construction. It's like every crazier project that I go and work on, there's disciplines I didn't know existed, and there's specialties I didn't know existed, and someone has all kinds of wealth and knowledge of something that like you had no idea about. And it's mind-blowing, it's stimulating, and it's exciting. The plethora of knowledge on our side. And even going down to the person, that's a plumber or into specialty gas or into specialty, like on hospitals, right? Like even going down through to that side as well. It's absolutely unbelievable. It's like so much respect for so many different people that I interact with on a different basis, pulling their information together for a project. So that's definitely got to be my rosebud. In terms of thorn, I think it's maybe more of a challenge, but trying to monetarily derive at an equation that is acceptable to people. Say you need someone else on your team. Well, how do you get another person on your team if maybe the monetary value is not clear on how we're valued as like maybe VDC professionals and how your team can maybe grow. I think I don't think that's necessarily construction. I think that's probably any role in any industry. But I do think it's a part on the construction side that is part of the bigger challenge that doesn't necessarily will just be addressed in 1 year. It's an ongoing part for sure.
Yeah, I believe so. It's been 3 years in business, and I still have to convince people. I mean, 3 years is too less if I'm being too optimistic here. I still have to convince people that why do you need to adopt BIM? Why do you need to get more friendly with technology? More so because I deal with small scale architects and engineers. So yeah, we all have the challenges of trying to prove ourselves and trying to prove our worth, at least till the day we're working for somebody else. And I think we always are working for somebody else, even when we are self-employed. So I've had one of the best podcasts today. I will not lie about it. My wish was that you guys would be throwing punches to each other over the screen. That didn't happen. But I don't know what is your vibe, but my vibe from this podcast has been amazing. A lot of learning, a lot of good things that can happen in future with technology and with amazing people like you working in the industry. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on this podcast, and looking forward to many more doing these things with you.
Thanks for having us, Chetna. And yeah, I know it was a bit more civil than you expected, but just keep in mind that, well, I guess Sean and I are both reasonable people, but also, I've been living with a VDC manager for a long time now. So, I know how to, I guess.
Have you toned down? Have Elena toned you down? Like your rants towards VDCs, have they gone down?
No, not really. But I guess I just I guess I don't get riled up as easily. But that doesn't have much to do with living with Elena. But I guess just taking things a bit more calmly becomes a part of the job. Like otherwise, like you're just creating stress for yourself for no reason. I don't think there's any reason to really create a toxic environment, even if something really just kind of grinds your gears. You have to be able to just take a breath, and resolve things calmly. Like there's no good coming out of like screaming at each other or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, sentiments on mine. The vibes were good. The vibes were chill. As maybe like you said, Chetna, we're hoping to go at it, but I don't know. I really love meeting up with you guys. Like, we talk a lot, even just like offline. So it's real. I don't know. I think it's pretty special. Like we all work together at the same time. I know. I remember like when like I actually do remember like when Yeet was at IBI, he left, I think, not too after I started, but I remember him, you know, talking about how he was doing like automation live on projects and how he was testing things and making sure that it was like all working. And, you know, so I think we all have these like really distinct memories, and I think it's like really cool. I know you shared that before, Chad, as well. And, you know, I think these things are like super important because like when we go and talk about what we did so many years ago and kind of like talk about it now, like it wouldn't really mean too much if we don't like remember the things that we like did before or the memories that we have. So like for me, it just like makes it way more special than maybe talking with people that I don't know. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because that's the whole point of podcast, but I think like this is like definitely a special moment for me on my end too, that we're all able to come together after some time trying to coordinate it.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking this time, and hope we do podcasts like this at least twice every year. Thank you so much for your time. I'm really, really grateful for this. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.